Welcome to episode 3 of the Horizon Terminal podcast. My name is Medic.
And my name is Lamb Chop. Welcome back, you guys. In this week's episode, we are continuing our story, and we are talking about our first song that we ever wrote together, as well as the origin to our name, Horizon Terminal. So let me just kind of catch you up to the story. It is 2018 at the very beginning, and I made a very big choice at the beginning of that year. After living in Hong Kong for 7 years, I finally decided to move back home to Victoria, Canada. I know. Very sad. So that was a big choice, and that's going to come back later in the episode, so keep that in mind. Now, at that time, I started to come out of my isolation. I was in a dark place. You can find out more in episode 2 if you're interested. I was wanting to hang out with people, really wanting to connect, and I finally made it over to your house. And at the time, I was working a 9 to 5, so I actually wouldn't even make it to your house till after work, about 6 or so.
Yeah. So that kind of that was the case for a lot of the times, the earlier sessions that we met up, and then. So yeah, for some reason, invariably we would at the beginning we would end up at the rooftop of my building, where we would catch up and catch up on each other's lives, and then. It just so happens, because I live smack in the middle of the urban jungle, that you could actually see some of the more iconic Hong Kong buildings as a backdrop, and combined with the sunset, they kind of really informed the aesthetic and sound of Horizon Terminal.
So one of those times when we were chilling on his rooftop, one of the earliest sessions, I remember so clearly. This was the first time we came up with an idea for a song together. So we were chilling up there. We were watching the sunset. Everything's beautiful. You got the ocean there in the background, the buildings in the front. It's just amazing. And I look over to you. I'm like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna paint a picture. And when we're going to go downstairs and we're going to make the soundtrack to that moment. We're going to build the song that accompanies this picture, okay? Are you ready for the picture?
Give it to me.
So the picture is this. Imagine Tupac, okay? He's driving alone in a convertible, top down, along the California highway. You've got the ocean on one side. You got the palm trees on the other side. You got the breeze blowing through his hair, okay? Yeah, he could act it out. And
he didn't have hair.
That's true. But if he did though, the breeze would be blowing through it, okay?
Right.
But you're right. This is clearly hypothetical. So he starts to think about his girl, right? And as he does, a single tear emerges from the corner of his eye. But he's too G to let it drop.
So that was that was the picture that so that was kind of like an aha moment for us, because we both kind of latched onto that image, and I guess we just immediately just went back downstairs and came up with early drafts of this song, and we'll just play a little bit of it for you right now.
There is no time to lose, yeah. You're the one that choose. I only want to be with you, 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 be with you. There is no time to lose. Hey, you're the one I choose. I only want to be with you, 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 be with you. There is no time to lose.
So as you can hear, that is these tracks. That is the lead-off track off our EP, Sunset Pacific. But as you'll also notice, this isn't the final version, because it features this vocal hook that actually we pulled from one of the Daz Band's hit songs called "Let It Whip."
Whip.
Exactly. And Yeah, so that vocal sample actually really drove the development of this song to the point where we actually finished it. But then, after a lengthy discussion, we decided against it because we didn't want to mess with any unauthorized samples.
That was really, really hard though, because like you said, we finished the entire song, and that was like the best part of the song. So like cutting out the best part of the song,
it really still is the best part of the song that nobody's has heard.
Exactly. So in a perfect world, we wish to put out that song, but instead you get Sunset Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we chopped out the vocal part, though, we had to fill it with something. And I remember looking over to you, I'm like, I have a good idea. Why don't we just play our instruments?
No.
Yeah. Why don't we just play a solo? So we did. And that was the only song off the entire EP where we both play a solo because we are so love the spotlight, Mm-hmm. That's pretty much true.
Yeah.
So in the end, we decided to name the song Sunset Pacific. Sunset because we came up with the idea of the song as the sun was setting with the colors, and of course the Tupac metaphor, story, parable, allegory, and Pacific for two reasons. One, because we were always watching the Pacific Ocean, but number two, if you remember at the very beginning, I was going to move back home to Victoria, Canada. So I would fly across the Pacific, and dividing Hong Kong and Canada, of course, is the Pacific Ocean. So dividing Medic and I would eventually be the Pacific, which came to define us and our music.
So exactly, that segues into how Horizon Terminal came about. We were brainstorming for many rooftop sessions, and came up with all sorts of crazy ideas. But in the end, settled on Horizon Terminal because we both agreed that when we're apart, we would still like this sort of proverbial terminal where we can both meet and exchange ideas. And all we have to do to get there, is to look out onto this horizon at the Pacific. Yeah.
So like in a way, like if I was standing on one side of the Pacific looking out on the horizon, I would see you, If
Me?
I had crazy eyes, yeah.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
If I had crazy eyes, I could see across the Pacific, hypothetically. And the terminal, of course, is that meeting space. So it's kind of like both a time and a space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other amazing thing is that not only is it just a space between us in that moment of 2018 to create music, but also afterwards, like after I had moved back, like right now, where we are still continuing to make stuff together. Mm-hmm. This is Horizon Terminal playing that idea out, right? Mm-hmm. And then now even beyond that, there's a greater definition, which is with the launch of this podcast, we've been able to, not yet, but we hope to eventually have other people and incorporate other people into the show so that basically all the people we like will also come and meet somewhere in the future. Mm-hmm. This podcast, hence Horizon Terminal, it's bigger than us, It's bigger than us, man. It's just bigger than us.
It's just a place where all like-minded people can get together and jam, exchange
boogie,
ideas,
mingle,
and let it
chill,
whip.
Let it whip.
Let it whip.
So I think that's pretty much it for us. Do you have anything else to add?
Just let it whip. That's it.
I think we'll end on that note. Thank you very much, you guys, for listening. Stay tuned next week for another episode where we're going to continue our story about our music. And thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next week. Let it whip.